everybody, today I'm going to talk about the Sega Genesis. Now if you're new here, consider now just something to ring the bell. So I've been looking through all my console reviews recently, and I've never done one on the Sega Genesis. Like the Super Nintendo, I really thought that I already did it. So today, I'm going to be talking about the Sega Genesis and all of its games and stuff like that. So yeah, let's get started. So here's the Sega Genesis I have. I think you guys have maybe seen it in a couple videos. This is the Model 2, and backstory to this is I actually got this from where Graffiti Games is now, Collectomaniacs near my area, and this was $30 for 2 controllers and the console, which is actually a pretty good deal. I mean, I'm not going to say that Sega Genesis prices are as bad as a Super Nintendo. Super Nintendos are way worse and more ridiculous. But Sega Genesis prices have gone up a little bit too, but not nearly as bad. This is the console itself, so there's the cartridge slot, there's the power button, and the reset button. So, this is not my favorite design. I think it's a little boring. Like, I mean, I know that it's kind of like a cheaper alternative to the original model, which I prefer the original model way more. Like, I mean, not to say that this design is just horrible, it's not my favorite aesthetically, because it's so basic. I mean, I'm glad I have a Sega Genesis, and I'm glad I don't have the Sega Genesis 3, where it's even cheaper than this, but I think it's just fine. It's not my favorite, so. And then I have a couple games. So I actually have more games for the Sega Genesis than I do the Super Nintendo, which is kind of crazy because if you told me that 5 years ago, like, I wouldn't have believed you. So I have a couple of games. The ones that I feel like are a little bit noteworthy, I'll save in a second. So this is Sonic Spinball, and I always try to collect the Sega Genesis games in these cases because I mean, you guys know how cartridges are sometimes when, like, you have them on a shelf for a while and they get really dusty and, like, the contacts aren't very good to play the game. So I really like these cases. I always try to do it, but like, there are a couple exceptions, or basically one of what I have here. Yeah, here's this one Sonic Spinball. Oh, there's the instruction manual. Well, actually, I didn't realize this had everything. Okay, so yeah, so there's the cartridge itself. So yeah, I just really like these boxes. Now, I've seen like these websites that make like boxes like this for like the Super Nintendo and basically all these consoles for the cartridges. But I've never really been a fan of those because, one, they can be kind of expensive, and two, it's just, even though like it sometimes gets dirty with the contacts when I have it on a shelf for a while, it seems kind of more of a chore to have all these boxes with these consoles. So yeah, so Sega Genesis is kind of an exception though, because that's kind of like its original thing. So yeah, so another game that I have is Sonic. You gotta have Sonic in this console. Like, it's such a good game. Like, I mean, I haven't really gotten far in it like I have with Mario, because honestly, I have always been more of a Mario fan, but this is a pretty good game. And like, I feel like a lot of people grew up with this game. This is probably the closest comparator to Mario in the 90s, or like early 90s. So this is a really good game. I haven't gotten through all of it, but I really like it. And then there's Sonic 2. I actually haven't played this one very much. I need to. So if I open this up, yeah, that's tight. There it is. Yeah, so I just always like these cases. They seem high quality, like with the Sega mark on it. So yeah, so Sonic 2, I haven't really gotten through everything in this game, and I haven't really played it that much, but from what I heard, it's a pretty good game. And then Mortal Kombat. So I gotta have this game. Like, I've always been a big fan of the Mortal Kombat games because there are like more gory versions, which actually, this does actually have a cheat code to where you can unlock like the bloody version. And I haven't done that yet, actually. Actually, no, I think I did do this on that. So yeah, so here's Mortal Kombat. You gotta have that in the collection because it's such an amazing fighting game. I actually do prefer it to Street Fighter because I used to have Street Fighter for the Super Nintendo, but then I got rid of it stupidly on Graffiti Games to get trade-in credit. So yeah, so I love this game, and the gory version is awesome. So yeah, I really like this game. Alright, so now here is the controller. So the controller Oh, it's very dusty. This has been under for a long time. This controller, I love. Like, it's such a good controller. It's kind of a tough battle between the Super Nintendo controller and this. Like, I mean, I feel like this feels a little bit more durable, because if you rage with a Super Nintendo controller, chances are, like, when you throw it, it's probably not going to survive. This, I feel like, would survive it a little bit more, but the reason why I like this controller so much is because, one, it's so comfortable to hold, and I just like the layout of it, because you actually don't have a start button, which I think is alright. Like, I've never really, like, I don't need it, basically. So, there is the D-pad, and then there's A, B, C, and these buttons still feel great. It's such a good controller, and I know there are versions like the 6-button controller, but with the 6-button controller, I feel like it's always feels a little bit cramped to me. Like, whenever I test it at, like, game stores and stuff, or, like, I see it for sale, it always feels a little cramped, but it's just, like, this is perfect for, like, a lot of the games, because even though people want to play 6-button versions of these controllers for Mortal Kombat specifically, because that's what they need, or what they did, it's a little difficult to have to play this with Mortal Kombat, but I still think it's not bad. It's tolerable to play it with Mortal Kombat. So, yeah, so this controller is freaking amazing. Like, I mean, it's just kind of a tough battle between a Super Nintendo controller, because I mentioned in that review that the Super Nintendo controller is, like, one of my favorite controllers ever. This is a close, like, third, because it's so comfortable in the hands, and I really like the A, B, C, and buttons. So yeah. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'm sorry if it's a little bit of a shorter video, but I kind of wanted to talk about this today. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.